How's it going, everybody? My name's Warner Fields with Fields of Profit, and today I'm joined by my friend Jimmy, who has been in the Roadmap community putting on like nightly sourcing calls. Been awesome to have Jimmy in the community. But if you want to just take like a quick second to kind of introduce yourself, maybe let them know where you're at in your Amazon business, we can have a conversation about how you got there.
Howdy. So I'm Jimmy. I'm currently at 162,000 in sales this month. I'm going for 300,000, and I dropped out of school. It's my full-time gig now, and where I'm at.
Awesome. Yeah, you're saying it like it's a normal thing to just be like, yeah, I sell 160,000 bucks in 14 days. You got to enjoy the accomplishment a little bit there, man. But yeah. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. So how did you kind of stumble into, the whole online arbitrage thing? If anyone's like brand new to Amazon watching this, basically what Jimmy and I do a bunch of is buying stuff from like Walmart, Target, Walgreens, stuff like that, flipping it on Amazon. So how did you like stumble into that business?
Yeah, so it's not really a funny story, but I guess you could say it's funny because it's cliche. So I was scrolling through TikTok last year in college, and I remember seeing a video of you talking about you bought supplements for X price and sold it on Amazon for, a higher price. And I'm like, interesting thought, but I can make more with trading options. And so I kind of ignored it. And then when I went to Utah for the summer after my semester ended, I was thinking, I don't really want to work my internship or, do banking for the rest of my life. And so I remember this TikTok, and I stopped at a gas station and bought your course right then and there. And that's kind of how I got started. So
yeah, I remember you writing that thread. I didn't know that was like your origin story or whatever. That was super cool to see. Yeah, glad to help help out a little bit there. But yeah, so how did you go from, hearing about flipping stuff, buying a course in a gas station parking lot to, how did you start sourcing those first products? I know a lot of people watching this video are like, they've been spending an hour or 2 hours trying to source stuff and it feels hopeless. So how did you kind of find that initial traction?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it's very, very difficult because you haven't developed that skill or intuition. For me, though, I think the biggest value to the course was the community, because I asked around and I said, hey, I can't find anything. And I get people DMing me saying, hey, check this one out. And one of those items is Colin Broom. So once you have a super good lead, once you have a super good lead like Colin Broom or Balance of Nature or whatnot, you can source off that listing, and it's very, very easy to find stuff. And so that's what got me jump started. And, I sourced for 8-10 hours a day for like a week or two. And then after that, it just became a breeze, just smooth sailing. It just takes practice. So
yeah. So to kind of fill in the lines there a little bit, he's talking about going back to like very popular arbitrage listings, kind of stuff that gets, super popular in the community. Those things he mentioned now are not quite as good as they used to be, but you can go to those listings, start using SellerAmp, just kind of looking at the other storefronts on that listing and really get an idea of what other sellers are selling. I think it's really smart. Even though reverse sourcing isn't the most efficient way, at the very beginning, I think it's the best because you're going to be able to see, oh, that brand is sold by a bunch of guys. I should look out for that brand next time I'm sourcing. So you're just going to be picking up little tricks like that. So yeah, you're learning reverse sourcing, kind of learning the ropes there a little bit. So, how long did it take you to start really being able to be like, all right, this is something significant? Because you dropped out of college for it. So like, what was your timeline looking like?
So I guess up until Q4, I was doing like 20 to 40K in revenue a month. I think the big thing I saw with scalability was just those websites where you can purchase so much more than others. And it's the low-hanging fruit. In the beginning, you're focused on the super high ROI. But once you go down to the low-hanging fruit, you kind of see the true scalability in it, what potential it has and whatnot. So that was my turning point.
Yeah, for sure. So what month did you start in?
June. Got my first sale June 1st.
That's crazy. So started in June, and in December, he's going to throw up like probably a $250,000. What's your goal for the month?
My goal is 300,000 in revenue and then 100K in profit.
That's crazy. Yep. There you go. That's an ROI on starting a business there for sure. Yeah. So kind of at this point, another big question a lot of people are asking is like, how much time is that actually taken to run out the 100,000 in profit this month?
So if you have a prep center, it depends. If you don't, probably like a full 12 hours for 2 weeks. It's horrible without a prep center. And that's where I'm at right now. But without a prep center and just with buying replens and leads I already know are good, I would say probably 2 to 3 hours a week.
Yeah, that's not too bad, right? You're kind of building the initial system. Like, yeah, when I was starting, I was spending those crazy late nights, right? Like if you're getting into this business, you're watching this video, like don't do it if you're expecting it to be the passive stuff you see all over. Hey, I'm running my business from my Lambo, like classic scam stuff there. But be willing to put in the hard work, and clearly it's going to pay off, right? But I don't know if many of you guys watching the video are going to go from June to December and you're making 100,000, but Jimmy's the proof that it's possible, right? So breaking that down, kind of going from, a little bit of reverse sourcing, all that good stuff. Is there anything more recently been implementing in your business to maybe be a little bit more efficient while you're sourcing?
In terms of sourcing, not really. The big thing for me was networking, talking to other sellers and whatnot. Because once you form a friendship, like a group of people, you get very, you get put in the network. And when someone finds a good lead, they share. When you find a good lead, you share. And, there's room for 2, 3, 4 people on the listing and just all eat together. together. And so the more, I guess, super high volume Amazon sellers you have, like the more experienced sellers you have, the more experience you gain by sharing your knowledge, the more you grow, the more you scale. It's awesome. So just networking with other sellers, that's the biggest ROI in my business right now. So
yeah, 1,000%. Especially like this early on, like there's no way anyone would be able to grow as fast as you have without kind of the networking connections. That's why like every other video I make, I'm talking about networking. Like, it's very, very important. So basically every high performing seller I talk to says the exact same thing. So how were you able to go out and, start making those connections? I know you mentioned the course a little bit, but like, obviously you probably took some steps outside of your comfort zone. What do people at home do to try to make those connections as well?
yeah, so the easiest thing to do and probably the biggest ROI for your Amazon business in the beginning, at least, is to start an Instagram, start a Twitter, start posting your progress, your orange bars, your boxes, all that kind of stuff. Just get your name out there, post some videos of you, your inventory or anything, and people will notice, people will follow, they want to build friendships. And yeah, that's what I did. It worked out great.
Yeah. And especially like, I know a lot of people like, I don't want to make a bunch of videos and all that kind of stuff. Like literally just putting up a picture of your sales once a month, like a couple box piles, shows people that you're like taking it seriously, all that kind of stuff can be a great way to, making those connections, as, both of us have been able to kind of get into the community and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, kind of moving forward for your business, what are like your long-term goals?
For long-term goals, I think definitely hopping into wholesale. The big thing I'm focusing on right now, though, is private label. I have a lot of products lined up that I'm hoping can bring in a lot more passive income. It's not passive, but kind almost.
Yeah. And why are you jumping into the private label game so early on?
So I see a ton of value in businesses that have equity and cash flow. With arbitrage and wholesale, it's flipping. I mean, if you automate the process, you can kind of get equity squeezed in there. But the real equity and the real money is in, at least in the Amazon space, it's in education and private label. So those are the kind of the two avenues I'm moving towards right now.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, especially kind of thinking about like that sellable asset. Like private label wholesale is pretty high up on priority list for me next year as well. I run the SellerAmp, that kind of stuff. It's important to have those different avenues. Arbitrage is amazing, wholesale is amazing, but it's more of like a cash builder, so you can go on and do great things with that money, right? But obviously first you got to hustle, do the arbitrage, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really, really easy to get started, right? Yeah, kind of within getting started, how much did you have to start like capital wise when you were kind of getting going?
Capital wise, I had $2,000 in cash.
Yeah, so clearly it's possible to grow. I assume there was a little bit of a credit card leveraging, that kind of stuff in there.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So I generally wouldn't, blanket recommend that to guys. Clearly it does work. Just make sure you're buying stuff that you're super, super confident in. I mean, kind of going back to what you were talking about, I don't hate the idea of, using credit cards, that kind of stuff, especially for those guys with experience. You're talking about like that low volume, very consistent selling stuff. Like those are great products to kind of go in if you're going to borrow money, that kind of stuff. I assume that's why you gravitated towards that, because it's like way lower risk. Like the high ROI, slow selling stuff, the next day it could be negative 10% ROI if you're not careful. The super high volume stuff, probably not going to be the case. So that's why, jumping into that high volume stuff, I imagine that's kind of the thought process there. So yeah, that works out really nicely. Just making sure it's way less risky, right? So, obviously it wasn't that long ago that you actually did get started, but if you had to go back to June and, tell yourself, hey, do this differently, what would you do?
Ooh, I don't know. I kind of feel like I did everything in just by the roadmap, by the book. So nothing I'd really change.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's fair. You made no mistakes, huh?
Well, a few, but you learn as you go.
For sure. So yeah, kind of moving forward, like what would you say is holding you back right now? Is there anything holding you back?
I would say a warehouse, because one key component with wholesale is having a warehouse. Now, I haven't asked my prep center yet if I can use them as my warehouse address, but with wholesalers, from what I hear by networking and talking with other big wholesalers, having a warehouse is a key component in getting those accounts, because it shows credibility and validates that you're, an actual distribution business. And so I guess opening a warehouse is one of my biggest priorities in terms of wholesale. But yeah.
We started getting our warehouse and that kind of stuff together kind of this year. So I'm excited to kind of ramp up to that with wholesale as well. Another thing that is really, really important within wholesale is, arbitrage. It's super easy to go out and if you're going to use a prep center, just, buy stuff that's more expensive, kind of average that prep cost down. Wholesale is not the same game, but there's going to be a ton of opportunity in those like $10 to $20 products where it doesn't make a lot of sense to pay for those, the margins on the prep cost, that kind of stuff. So that's where eventually later down the line, kind of having your own warehouse, like that kind of stuff is definitely going to come into play, because, it's going to cost you 5 cents, maybe a dime to prep a product compared to that full dollar you're paying at a prep center, right? Cool. Yeah. So with the private label product, do you have, any idea of like the niche it's going to be? Obviously, I'm not saying what the niche is, but like kind of how far along the process are you?
So right now, I'm currently in the process of sourcing on Alibaba. I have 5 products in line. They're all in high demand. It's all in the kitchen niche, which I think is great. And a tip for starting out with private label: don't do anything electronics, battery related. Do simple stuff, like if it's just wood and metal, like basic materials, because it's very easy to manufacture. You don't need ungating or anything like that. Hazardous goods, hazmat. It's just send it to Amazon. It's all good to go. Nothing in the way.
Yeah,
So
that's good advice. I was kind of looking at that last year. Kind of the electronics game was I've heard some horror stories in there. Like this particular part was broken. I got all returns. Like all that kind of stuff can just lead to headaches. So yeah, I like that. Within private label and even within arbitrage, like reducing the chaos in your business. Kind of something I've been talking about a little bit recently. With private label business, don't go out and get a battery based product. With the arbitrage business, don't go out and try to learn 30 different sites, how to manually source on each one of them. Learn the reverse sourcing, get really good at that, and then learn a couple of these sites, get really good at that. So just kind of reducing the amount of different things you're trying to learn all at once is just going to be really good advice for really any way of kind of selling on Amazon there. And yeah, so if there's somebody watching this video trying to get their arbitrage business off the ground, what advice would you have for them? Maybe they haven't sold anything, maybe they're selling $1,000 a month.
I would just start watching videos on this YouTube channel and maybe Miles's. Get the roadmap. It's probably the best investment you can make when you're starting out for your arbitrage business. And yeah, I mean, that's what I did. And
awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Making me sound like a page of yeah. I mean, in a way, right? Where's my royalties, Jimmy? Perfect. Yeah. So if the guys and gals watching the video want to go, kind of track you down, I know you've been starting to make some content, Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. Where can they find you?
Just Jimmy FBA on Instagram and FBA Jimmy on Twitter.
Cool. Yep. Links will be down below. Go drop him a follow, all that kind of stuff. Dropped way too much game. So definitely Jimmy's a great follow. So go ahead and check out his page. Do you have any last minute words of advice for the people at home?
Just get started and just keep going. It's rinse and repeat. So
exactly. Yep. Go check out SellerAmp free trial. Go watch some YouTube videos and just start practicing, right? Like that's the best thing I could say. Everyone wants the magic bullet. Just start practicing. Thanks for being on the channel, Jimmy. Glad to have you in the community, all that kind of stuff. If you guys watching this video did get some value, please feel free to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, anything like that. Always happy to answer those down below as well. But I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.